Hey everybody, Lloyd and I are here joined by Kalin from Funktronic Labs. I got to be careful how I said that. He's currently working hard on making a game called Wavebreak for Google Stadia. Kalin, thank you very much for joining us today.
Hello, happy to be here. Talk about the game, talk about Stadia.
So,
very excited.
Before we get started, I feel like there's a lot of people who might be confused about what kind of game Wavebreak is, because Lloyd and I were talking about this, and he said that it felt like what did you say it felt like, Lloyd?
I said it's sort of like this weird mashup between Wave Race 64, Tony Hawk, and Cell Damage, because there's guns in the game, and I'm just like, this is not a game that I ever thought I would ever want to play, but now that I see it, I can't ever think about not wanting to play it because it looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and I thought it looked like SSX Tricky, and I know that there's some people who are out there, they're like, is it a racing game? Is it a trick-based game? Can you describe like the elevator pitch for Wavebreak?
I think you guys are kind of in the ballpark. It's a little bit of all of those things. I guess, the term we use to describe it is skateboarding, and it's kind of a play on the very classic arcade, like Tony Hawk style skating. That's really the essence of it. And then on top of that is, I guess, a lot of stuff that we thought would be cool and fun to play with, like the dynamic water simulation and the guns, and I guess just a kind of a different take on level design and some of the controls. I think the main thing we wanted to focus on top of like the arcade skating was some of the ways to express your skill. So, there's a lot more like subtle control with the tilt, and I guess it's like 3D compared to the old skating games. And so I think a lot of players that play Rocket League will find a lot of that control familiar, on top of the shooting, which kind of ties into the trick system and gives you a little bit of momentum, and you can use it as an element in your tricking combo. So it's a lot of different things kind of mashed together into, I guess, a high skill arcade skating boating bonanza.
Was the shooting always in the game, or is that something that you decided to add later on?
I think we were experimenting with game modes, and we're like, let's try a deathmatch with guns and see how it feels. And it felt kind of cool. And then I guess we looked at ways to tie that into the trick system, and it felt good. It feels weird to not have a gun, so it just fits. And I guess the aesthetic is very 80s Miami Vice, cops and robbers. So it gives us a lot of tools to play with for, I guess, like mission design for the single player campaign stuff. Chasing people, tricking around, shooting things, blowing things up. It just fits the cops and robbers TV show aesthetic well.
How long would you say the campaign is?
I think if you're really good, you can clear it in an hour or two. If I would say on average, you get a solid few hours out of it. But you'll probably come back to it, go play some online, play some free skate. Level up your character's stats a little bit, then go back and do a few more missions. Some of them are pretty difficult, so I wouldn't expect people would like 100% clear it on the first time through. You'll kind of do most of the missions maybe, and then come back and finish off some of the harder ones, like when you get a little bit better at the game.
Awesome. So you're making this for Google Stadia. You've announced other things down the road, but how has your development been like on Google Stadia, and why was Google Stadia chosen as a platform for this game?
So we started just developing it on PC, just as the regular development environment. And then once we had the game at a good state, we were talking to publishers and kind of seeing what we could do with the game to get it out wider. And Google seemed pretty interested, and I guess they believed the pitch of the game that we felt pretty strongly about. So I guess we started working with them to bring it to Stadia first, and for actually developing on Stadia, it's been pretty smooth. It's actually been with all the quarantine, everything's cloud based on Stadia, so it's actually been pretty easy to transition to this, janky home work setup with the build machine. But we don't have to bring all the dev kits. We don't have to bring all the hardware and stuff. So it's been nice to develop on.
So is your studio based all in the same place, or is your team already all over the world, and this just fits perfectly?
So our team's all in Los Angeles, and we, before the Great Plague, we all just went to the office every day, and then I guess we just all went home now. And we're just kind of keeping things as usual. We just everything's over Slack and stuff like that.
Do you feel like once all of this is over, are you guys itching to get back into your offices to work, or do you feel like you can save a bunch of money by not having office space and working from home?
No, I think we all like going to the office. We keep it a nice chill place, and it's very comfortable to just go and just be in work mode, and everybody's there. And I think a lot of the cool ideas that came from the game came from you turn around and you see someone else like doing something cool on screen, and you're just like, hey, what's that? Oh, that's cool. What if we do this? And I don't know, it's exciting to see what everybody's doing kind of ongoing throughout the day.
How
and I think now
sorry, go ahead.
I think now there's a little bit of that lost, given that we're in the end of the dev cycle. We're just kind of grinding through the work we have left, so we know what's going on. But I think if it was early, when a lot of the creative decisions are still completely up in the air, it would have been kind of difficult to do at home.
So now that you're at the end of a dev cycle, how long has this dev cycle been for this particular game?
I think almost 2.5 years, 2.25 years. So the first phase of development was only 2 people, just kind of chipping away at some ideas, getting the water sim stuff up and running, just trying to get the framework working and figure out what the art style would be. And then I guess over the course of the 2 years, we add someone else to the team every couple of months, and I think there's 7 people full-time working on it right now.
How long has Stadia been in the picture? I would assume not 2 years.
No, I think that was late last year.
So after the GDC announcement last year?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess we talked to them for quite a while before we actually started getting moving on Stadia. But it was definitely after the big GDC Stadia buzz last year.
So now that you are bringing it as a temporary exclusive to Google Stadia, there's some features that are only on Google Stadia, like crowd play and that kind of thing. Are you going to be including any of those features in the Stadia version of Wavebreak?
I think we are waiting for Google to roll them out before we, I guess, deal with any of that. When we launch the game, I don't think those features are going to be available, but I don't know the exact time frame that Google's working with for those features. But personally, I really like crowd play. I think it's one of the things we thought about a lot at the start of this game was how annoying it is. I don't want to call out a particular game, but Dragon Ball Fighter. I really like that game, but the time from I want to play to boot the game to going through lobbies and going through menus and running around the world and setting up a thing, and it's just I just want to play. I want to play with friends right now.
Right.
And I guess we try to really make sure that the design of Wavebreak is I want to play, I'm in. A friend's playing, click. I just want to join them. I don't want to fuss with anything. And I think crowd play is a super streamlined version of that. You see someone playing, you just click, I'm in. And with that in mind, we made some features if a game is full, you can join the game as a kind of an NPC around the scene, so you can run around and wave at people and swim around and push barrels over and just kind of mess about in the scene. Even if you're not an active player in that match.
Nice. So you and your team have been doing live streams. So I caught the one about a week ago. There was just one just prior to us recording this interview, and it's fun to watch kind of an in development game being streamed. So when you're doing the stream, are you actually playing on Google Stadia for that stream, or is that on something other than Stadia?
We have a local dev build, but I think one of those streams was on Stadia.
Nice.
It's honestly it's fairly indistinguishable. I think the guy that was streaming today, I couldn't tell you which build he was using to test, because it's basically identical.
That's fantastic. That just shows kind of how close you and your team might be. Hopefully we'll get some news in the near future. Or do you have a target frame rate that you're trying to hit for this game or the game in general? Are you having any issues with that on Stadia?
I guess as high as possible. On Stadia we'll be at 60, so trying to just keep that smooth. I guess on other builds, depends on your hardware. But we spend a lot of time on optimization. It's been pretty tricky, given that the whole water is like a actual like GPU compute shader water simulation. Right. So it's been challenging to get all the rendering and the water stuff running.
So, you're talking about the water and are the things that are on Google Stadia making that stuff easier for you than it normally is because the server blades are so powerful?
I think it's been pretty straightforward. I guess we use Unity, so in the early versions there was some Unity Stadia support was still being worked on, so I guess that was the kind of bumps along the way, but it's pretty straightforward. It's you just make the game work with Vulkan, and it's got a nice GPU, and yeah, it's been surprisingly trouble-free and like straightforward all around.
So let me ask a question as somebody who's not a developer, and this isn't really about your game, so you can say, you know what, I don't really want to answer that because it's too in the weeds. But if you make a game, we'll say on Unity, how different is that game when you're looking at different platforms? So, for instance, Stadia versus Xbox versus PlayStation. When you make a game on Unity, do you just kind of say, all right, this is the baseline that everybody's going to get and then move on from there? Or is it where one's going to severely outperform the others because of power restrictions or something like that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess for all the hardware that's in kind of the same tier, we try to, I guess, pick this as the line we want to make sure to hit frame rate on. So I think, most of the current gen consoles kind of are around the same ballpark. But that being said, we have a lot of things we can turn up and down. So if one platform is particularly strong at, let's say the CPU is like stronger than the other ones in the same tier, then maybe we'll turn up one of these features. Or if the GPU is stronger than the average of the other platforms, we might increase the like water simulation resolution, or add some of these like water shadow effects that we have just for that platform. But for the most part, it's the same. But we do have a lot of settings for all of those things. So a future PC build would scale up to to 3080 Ti's if you've got it. You want to run it at 240 frames a second.
Right. What are the sliders that you've been adjusting for Stadia, particularly, if you can share?
For Stadia, I guess we have a like rough internal, like this is the high setting that we want to hit for everything, and it's high. And then we have a couple of crazy features that are completely unnecessarily slow to add some like subtle rendering thing that's nice, but it's really high end stuff. But for Stadia, and we're just hitting like what we consider to be high detail.
Nice. Okay, well, out from the weeds of the overly technical stuff, maybe if you could talk a little bit about the different game modes that are going to be included in the game at launch. I'm curious because we've seen in the streams, we've seen kind of a time attack, we've seen the kind of deathmatch stuff. So what are you planning on launching with for this game?
We have the single player campaign. I suppose that counts as a game mode, which is where you would probably start with the game to get familiar with stuff, which is collectibles, missions, objectives, a couple of story missions in there that'll have some fun cutscene stuff going on. And then we have time attack, which is your kind of standard Tony Hawk style 2 or 3 minute rounds, get a high score. And then there's deathmatch, which is, I guess, most kills. And the score is kind of used as, I guess, currency to buy guns in the match. So you still want to be able to do your tricks well to get money, to get guns, to be better at the deathmatch. But the actual like winner is determined by the kills. And then we have free skate mode, which is, you know, no limits, no rules, just do whatever. And then we are working on a turf war mode, which is kind of a team versus team. And it's kind of a combination of like capture points and sort of like the tagging modes, where you do tricks, get a lot of points, and you kind of deliver them to a zone, and it captures it, and then NPCs spawn and like guard the zone, and you're kind of fighting over zones in the match. So that's a team versus team mode that we're working on, and we're just tweaking a few things for that, and that'll probably be in the like first post-release update.
Nice. So for the matchmaking, you said that you'd love to get things like crowd play and all that stuff implemented down the road. Does it have full online matchmaking? Like, is it skill-based matchmaking, or is it just invite friends from your friends list into your match?
So we have both of those. So I guess I don't know what people are going to end up playing more at the end of the day, but you can just invite friends and play around. And hopefully there'll be some way to, you know, give someone a link to just join your game. And then for the matchmaking, we just kind of throw everybody in a queue, and it picks a few people around the same skill level, and then off you go. And that'll throw you into like a time attack round.
Nice. Any sort of
Sorry,
I was going to say any sort of tournament mode. So you could have like, say we could, in our Stadia cast community, we could have a tournament and have that handled in game.
Not at launch, but we are trying to figure out the design for that now, because
nice.
I think that'll be a lot of fun. I kind of like the Marcel. I don't know how to pronounce it. The Martial in Tony Hawk 2. You know, that does like the 3 rounds and like judging scores and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I guess we want to, you know, find what our take on that mode is, because I think that'll be a lot of fun. But for now, we just want to streamline I just want to queue up and play, you know, no fuss. And there's behind the scenes skill level that's tracked. So you'll be matched with people, you know, roughly as good as you.
That's awesome. You mentioned a couple times not at launch. So it seems like you have plans for post-launch DLC, additional content, stuff like that. Is that stuff that's going to be free content updates, or is it going to be paid DLC, or is it going to be a combination of both, or do you not have that locked down yet as for what your plans are going to be?
There's nothing concrete yet, but you know, we definitely want to keep adding more stuff to the game. You know, there's a lot of game modes, there's a lot of characters, there's a lot of like decoration items and new maps that we would like to make. Yeah, the list of stuff we would want to keep adding to the game is endless. I guess once we get the launch out there, we will go through the list of stuff that we want and, you know, decide what's the best thing to work on to put into the first update, and then figure out the timeline exactly. So, you know, we'll keep everybody posted once we have like plans locked for those kind of things, but definitely more to come. So
when you're playing the game, do you like earn XP that you can then spend on unlockables or things like that for your character, like cosmetics or that kind of thing?
When you play the campaign missions, you earn in-game money, and when you, I guess, just as a reward for playing like a time attack or something, you get some money as well based on your final score, and you can use that in the in-game store to buy cosmetics, and that'll be character cosmetics as well as boat cosmetics. So there's, you know, attachments to the boat and decals and different paint jobs, and, you know, for the characters it's hats and shirts and sunglasses and crowns and things like that.
Are you going to be selling this in-game currency for actual money?
Not at launch. I don't know if we'll sell currency. We might, maybe in the future we'll have some, you know, super cool premium cosmetic items, but for now it's all just in-game money.
Right, but it's not like stat based, right? It's all just cosmetic, right?
No, there's different boat like hull chassis, I guess.
Oh,
And they have slightly different stats, but for the large part, you go to the upgrade character upgrade and kind of upgrade your stats with money. And I think at the end game, like most of the characters' stats and most of the boats are pretty similar, but there's a little bit of variation. So playstyle will be tweaked a little bit.
Nice. So as we're nearing launch for you and your team, what was your biggest challenge in getting this game out, other than, hey, let's make a video game? Obviously that's a big challenge, just coming up with the idea. So have you hit any like major snag that put you back, or was a trial to kind of get over?
There's no major issues. I think I don't know if it comes through in the live streams that you guys have seen so far, but the levels are actually like pretty big, and so I guess getting the levels running at frame rate being that large, and we're kind of a small team, so it takes a long time to make that much artwork, and so I guess just grinding through that much stuff to make with a small team has probably been the biggest challenge. I guess on the engineering side, getting everything running fast. I guess with two and a half programmers, just getting all the game modes, all the networking, all the crazy graphics tech, getting it running on Stadia, and it's been a lot of stuff to grind through.
We've spoken with other developers that have mentioned Gen 1 Stadia hardware versus Gen 2 Stadia hardware. Can you tell us which gen of Stadia hardware is Wavebreak running on right now?
I don't know what we're allowed to say about the Gen 1 and Gen 2 hardware, but we've just been playing on the same hardware. I'm pretty sure what we've been deving on is the same as the release
That's fair.
hardware right now. So I don't know, actually. I don't know what the timeline is for upgraded Stadia machines. Yeah.
Nice. So you were talking about getting together all of the artwork, all of the cosmetics and whatnot. So you have a very vaporwave kind of aesthetic to the game, which I love. That's what I do for my channel on Twitch and everything. I love that look. Was this always the aesthetic that you were planning, or did you just kind of stumble into it through like a happy programming accident? Because I've heard other developers say, we didn't want our game to look like this, but we accidentally changed a number here and all of a sudden everything looked awesome. I'm just wondering what the design side of things, how that kind of came to be.
I think our first prototype looked like a kind of cutesy Nintendo game, because we were using I guess character models from a previous game that we worked on, and it was a very cutesy game, and I think we were pretty confident in like the core gameplay at that point, that
Right.
It was like a good direction. I guess the aesthetic just felt underwhelming, so we're like, we brainstormed a bunch of stuff, and I guess just like the 80s feel and like this kind of color scheme, and I guess this kind of character personality, just after throwing around a bunch of ideas, it just felt like it kind of fit. And then we just cranked everything up to 20.
Well, yeah, it's all the way down to the menus and everything. It's pretty fantastic, and even to the website. I'm a big fan of the website as well. You guys have done a great job.
Your art direction for this game is really cool. I especially like the characters, like the giant otter. I think it's an otter. It's an otter.
Yeah, he's a detective otter.
Yeah, he's my favorite of it. Real quick before we finish up, I think we got like 2 questions left. My one more question is the characters, the otter and the bear and all of the other stuff. Are they different in any way, or is it just different skins of the same character?
They have slightly different stats, but it's quite subtle. I think for the most part they'll play the same. We have a couple of ideas to experiment to differentiate them, but we're not 100% on whether it's better for the game that they are the same, more the same than different. If one character was, had a special move that was better than all the others, then it's it's kind of not as interesting if everybody's playing only the Otter, you know,
Yeah, that
just
makes a
because
lot of
he's
sense.
better, right? So I guess we're a bit on the fence about what to do with that. But for now, they're for the most part the same. You just pick the one that you like that has the coolest clothes and, you know, speaks to your heart.
Well, Kalin, thank you very much for joining us. Where can people find more information about Wavebreak and Funktronic Labs, and when is the next stream?
If you want info about the game, go to wavebreakgame.com. If you want to see cool stuff and broken stuff that we post, go to twitter.com/wavebreakgame. And then if you want to ask us any dev questions, discord.gg/Funktronic Labs. And then next stream, probably next week.
And that's at the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/
It'll be on Funktronic Labs.
Okay.
YouTube. Yep.
Awesome.
We will post to Twitter and post to Discord when they go up. So if you're following on any of those channels, you should see it. Yep.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.